One of the weirdest game weeks in the city of weird game weeks takes place and might end in some hope in Jacksonville. Let's get to the bottom of it and relive it here in the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room.
Texans looking for their first win. Little hope at the beginning of the week, but something that happens at the end of the week makes you wonder what the hell is going on here. Landry Locker here. It is the locker room, number one source for Texans daily digital content. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2 on Sports Radio 610 and the Odyssey app. Please subscribe, like, ride along for the best Texans coverage you can get. We talk to players throughout the week. This week we talked to Robert Woods. He joined the show live, and we got the pulse of what's going on. We're at every single game. So let's just kind of relive. Let's just go day by day with how weird this week was for even for the weirdest team in the NFL the last few years, the Houston Texans. Monday, you had discussed with what was seen the day before. So it was kind of more of the same. You came in, another loss at NRG. They've only won at NRG 4 times since 2020. Last time they won was December 26th of 2021. So you have that. Doesn't seem to be a lot of hope when it comes to Jacksonville, and it's kind of just more of the same. There's a very defeated mindset among the fan base. Tuesday, off day, the betting line, keep an eye on that. The betting line remains at 9.5 with heavy money on the Texans. So despite everything we've seen from the Texans, there was heavy money. I think nearly 80% of the money was on the Texans at 9.5. And this isn't like, the Dallas Cowboys or the Steelers where people just want to bet on the Texans. Like the sharp people, the people who know what they're doing, they're betting on the Texans at 9.5. So there's heavy money on the Texans. Wednesday, a very rare day of good news for the Houston Texans on the injury front. Laramie Tunsil comes back to practice. Jimmy Ward comes back to practice. And it seems like for the first time all year, the Texans are getting some good news when it comes to injuries until Thursday morning when the news came out that Derek Stingley will miss a lot of time. Some have said 4 weeks. Aaron Wilson has said 6 to 8. Aaron Wilson of KPRC was the one with the report. But now you get back to the bad news on the injury front, and there's a lot of people panicking with the Texans. And that brings us to Friday. The line jumps down to Jags minus 7.5. So even with Stingley missing time, even with everything that we've heard, the line jumps to 7.5. Now, this could be really simple. It could just be a matter of the money's going heavy on the Texans, so they want to try to shift it back in the area of Jacksonville. It could be that maybe Jacksonville is kind of overvalued as a double-digit favorite, but I have no idea what is going on with the money. And all I have is experience in being a crappy gambler. And this just seems like Las Vegas is begging you to take the Jags minus 7.5. And I've actually wondered, like, as bad as the Texans are, and whenever you start talking about other teams and you cover the Texans, naturally people say, well, your team sucks. They're terrible. The team that you cover is trash. Yes, they are. But are the Jags just an overvalued team? Is that kind of what we're learning this week? Even with all the injuries the Texans have, and the Jags have their share. I know Zay Jones was a little bit nicked up. I know they're going to be without their starting left tackle, offensive line a little bit nicked up. But are we starting to kind of see that the Jags are a little bit overvalued? Their win total at one point was 11 or 10.5. So if you wanted to bet the over, you would have to bet them winning 11 games. There were 3 teams in the AFC last year that won 11 games. Bengals, Chiefs, Bills. That was it. Jags wouldn't have won the division if Ryan Tannehill hadn't gotten hurt. So maybe we're starting to see that the Jags are overvalued. Now, the Texans are the same old Texans at this point, but maybe this betting line and this stuff is as simple as it doesn't have anything to do with the Texans. It has more to do with the fact that the Jags are perhaps an overvalued team, which I think is fair. I think the Jags are good. I don't think the Jags are like, just a notch below the Chiefs and Bills and all the elite teams in the league or in the AFC. We saw the Jags last week. The Jags scored just 9 points against the Chiefs. You have to go back to December of 2021 to find a team scoring that little on the Kansas City D. And last year, every team the Chiefs played scored a touchdown. In December of 2021, they had a hot streak that started. And this is how long ago it was. It started when Aaron Rodgers missed a game and Jordan Love had to start. So it's been a while since we've seen this type of performance from the Chiefs defense. So maybe the Jags offense is just a little bit overvalued. Maybe it's as simple as they need their left tackle. But I think if we're trying to look at perhaps reasons why the smart people and the money keep shifting in the Texans, I don't know that it has as much to do with the Texans as it does with the Jags. Could there be a potential look ahead? The Jags are traveling to London for 2 weeks after this game. I've thrown out this theory. When sometimes the best students, the day before Christmas break, they're the worst students. Some of the best radio hosts, I use the Sean Pendergast theory. Even the best radio hosts, before they go on vacation, they're trash. They're absolutely awful, except me. No days off for me. But there's got to be something to it. And I really think, like, to answer my own question, what is going on with the money? I think it has more to do with the Jags being overvalued and not ready to take that next step and not even ready to be, like Baltimore was, like Cincinnati, if they're at full strength, will be. I don't think the Jags are ready to be a double-digit favorite against anyone, even the Houston Texans. If the Texans went to Buffalo, they'd be an 11 or 12-point underdog. When they went to Baltimore, they were a 10-point underdog. If they went to an elite team's side, hell, if they went to Dallas, they're probably a 10-point underdog. If they went to San Francisco, they're probably a 10-point underdog. I know that there's been I think there's kind of an overreaction to Jacksonville winning that playoff game. I thought that might have had as much to do with the Chargers as it did the Jags. So, you want to be optimistic about the Texans, and maybe you can take this and find a way to be optimistic about it. But I think it's just more so about the Jaguars with where they are in their process, and they're far ahead of the Texans. They're not as far as a lot of people think. And you saw it last week with Kansas City. I mean, they couldn't score a touchdown. I mean, and I know that Chris Jones was back, but this isn't the 85 Bears. Kansas City, you got to go back to 2021 for them to give up that few points. Jacksonville wasn't wired up for that. I mean, I think Jacksonville's offense is overvalued. I think they're overvalued, and I think that's the big thing with this money and where it's at. Laramie Tunsil, he's returning, as is Jimmy Ward. Jimmy Ward has joined the radio show and talked about, and this is getting a little bit in the sticks, why he doesn't want to play Nickelback anymore. And not the band, nickel. Like, he doesn't want to play nickel. Tavier Thomas is going to miss some time as well. He hasn't gone on IR yet. And naturally, you wonder, with Jimmy Ward coming back, being one of the best guys in the nickel the last few years, could we see Jimmy Ward lining up in the nickel? He's joked about it. Here was the back and forth on the radio show in the Loop, Sports Radio 610, the Odyssey app, and why he just wants to play safety.
I was going to call him a DB, but it seems like I got to call you a safety because D'Amico said we're going to call Jimmy Ward a safety. That's what he is.
Oh, God. So hopefully when I finally look at the roster, it has an S next to my name.
I think it does. I can tell you here in just a second.
Oh, man,
I can tell you that. And by the way, number one in your program, which I want to get to that, has a big old S right next to his name. How about that? Big old S right next to his name.
Smile right there.
Why?
Just over the years, I got to play deep. Nothing wrong with playing like all the other positions, but like that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to play safety. That's the reason why I love the game. It's just I love everything. Yes, I get to pick the ball, but I also get to hit, and yes, I get to blitz
and cover.
And that's how It's really how I made my name.
Exactly.
I worked on my weak link. It was coming out of high school. I never forget. Me and Jaquasi Tart got drafted together. He was the free actually, and I was strong coming out of high school. And they had me doing all that stuff, but I always felt like I could get better at coverage. So I started working on my weak link. That's what I always tell young guys. I was like, man, work on something that you're not as confident on, and then you'll get better. Your game will get better.
So Braylon Arnold's going to line up in the nickel. We will not see Jimmy Ward there. He is going to play safety. So he gets his wish even with Javier Thomas out. Something else to keep an eye on, CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's been really good the first 2 games in. I think Patrick Storm put out a stat that if he gets 213 yards, 5th most passing yards through 3 games for a rookie. Ideally, I don't know if you want to lead the league in passing yards. We've seen Deshaun do that, and the team only win 4 games. But got to take what you can get at this point. But you do have to wonder about the shoulder. Anytime a guy has to show up hours before a game, talks about how much he had to put into playing, you do wonder about his shoulder. Like, is CJ Stroud, is the shoulder all right? Bobby Slowick, D'Amico Ryans insisted it was fine. Bobby Slowick touched on it as well, the offensive coordinator for the Texans. This is what he had to say about it.
No, we got a really good plan. He has people he talks to. We have a really good staff here that's, dealt with stuff like this before, that we just structure a plan around what he needs and arm maintenance and things of that nature on and off the field, and he's all in, taking steps.
Coach, was there a concerted effort this past weekend to make?
All right, so arm maintenance, huh? That's interesting because is it something new? And he got hit with the follow up on that, and this is what Slowick had to say about the arm maintenance.
I think it's always like anytime you have a starting quarterback that's going to play all year, you always have an arm management program, and it's kind of what best fits the individual, and it may be some days he's limited on throws. It may be some days he's not limited on throws, but he's limited on other stuff that's not team period related. And that, is kind of a week to week thing. And it's an individual thing as we go through the year. So he's always going to be on an arm maintenance program. Every quarterback is. It's just what we're doing that specific week.
Yeah, and last week you had to grind your ass off to get him on the field. Let's just keep an eye on it. Yes, everyone has one. Last week just seemed a little bit different, but we will see how that plays out in 24 hours. Realistic improvements for the Texans before I get out of here. I could come on here and say they need to run the ball. I don't know if they're capable of running the ball. You could sit here and say, the DBs or linebackers need to do this. I don't know if they're capable. Realistic stuff that could help them out in Jacksonville. Number 1, tight end production. 6 catches for Dalton Schultz isn't going to cut it. 2 of those were in mop-up duty, and there's limited yak after, and there haven't really been any impactful catches. I actually wonder, and this is hilarious that we're here, if Brevin Jordan – if we see a little bit of an emergence in usage of Brevin Jordan and maybe Quitteriano and the tight ends as a whole. But tight end production, it's probably a little bit more difficult when both your starting tackles are out. Maybe Tunsil being back helps that out. You gave Dalton Schultz $9 million, whatever it was. Tight end production would be nice. Number 2, realistic improvements. Starting off in the scripted portion. A lot of times early on, the offense is scripted. Whatever the hell Shane Steichen scripted up against D'Amico Ryans last week was rough. And maybe it's because he saw something against Baltimore that he felt he could take advantage of. But whatever it was, whatever he studied, whatever he put together, D'Amico Ryans' defense was not ready for it, and they didn't execute for whatever reason. So with Doug Peterson, with Trevor Lawrence, who you have a lot of information on, you got to start off better than that. And outside of week 1, where you kind of were blind and didn't know what exactly Baltimore was going to do, it would be nice to see the preparation look better and the execution, to be fair, early in the game. Number 3, Will Anderson production. He was kind of taken out of the game by Indianapolis. He's one of your best players. He has highest upside. You got to see Will Anderson produce at a higher level. Just to recap the strange week that was, please subscribe, like, right along. Daily Texans content, Locker Room. Here I am, Landry Locker. You can hear me Monday through Friday, 10 to 2, Sports Radio 610. A little bit under the weather, but about to go watch some college ball, so that will always make you feel better. Monday, disgust with what was seen the day before. My God, same old Texans. Tuesday, betting line at 9.5. Heavy money coming in on Texans. Wednesday, good news that Tunsil and Ward were back on the practice field. Thursday, this is why you can't have nice things. Derek Stingley will miss a lot of time, although I don't even know that he's better than Steven Nelson at this point, which I don't know, kind of speaks to how Steven Nelson has kind of maintained his level. He's definitely the best in camp. Friday, betting line jumps down to Jags 7.5. My belief is that I don't think the Jags are elite. I think they were treated as elite early in the season with their win total, and I think they were treated as elite early in the betting line, and I think the smart people kind of pounced on it. Maybe they can find a way to win by double digits, but I don't think that they're worthy of being a double-digit squad. I damn sure don't think that they're going to be an 11-win squad. So that's why the money's coming in on the Texans, and they're begging you. If you think I'm wrong, if you think I'm a moron, put the money in. Because right now, 7.5, you only have to give 7.5 points if you're the Jags, and you'll be on the short side of things. So we'll see how that all goes. But it's been a wild week in the city of wild weeks. Please subscribe, like, ride along. It's been the Locker Room on YouTube. Special little preview-ish edition here on YouTube.
Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number 1. You don't need to try your luck. Locker Room.